Never sweep your compound at night. Never. In the ancient village of Umueze, nestled between thick forests and winding red dirt paths, time seemed to move slower. The villagers lived by the rhythms of nature and the wisdom of their ancestors. The elders taught their children the taboos, not out of fear, but for survival. One rule stood out, passed from tongue to tongue, carved into the very air they breathe. Everyone obeyed. Everyone, never sweep your compound at night. She was a proud widow, well into her 60s, who believed in hard work and discipline. Her husband, Papa Kolu, had died many years ago under strange circumstances. He had ventured into the forest at night to relieve himself and was never seen again. Only his sandals were found at the foot of the big Iroko tree. Since then, Mama Ifeoma grew colder, tougher, and fiercely independent. She lived alone in a compound filled with fruit trees and yam mounds. The children avoided her house, whispering that they'd seen shadows in her windows when no one was home. But Mama Ifeoma paid them no mind. One Thursday evening, during the season when the harmattan wind turns the sky pale and dry leaves scatter like whispers, Mama Ifeoma quarreled with her neighbor, Mama Ifeoma. "You think you're better than all of us, eh? Always carrying your nose in the air." Mama Ifeoma shouted across the fence. "I'd rather carry my nose than bury it in other people's business like you." Mama Ifeoma snapped back. The fight ended, but her spirit remained hot like firewood embers. As the moon rose, fat, yellow, and full, Mama Ifeoma looked outside her hut and frowned. Dry leaves littered her compound, some even brushing against her doorstep. "Tufiokwa," she hissed. "I will not sleep with this nonsense around me." She grabbed her broom and stepped out into the night. As she began to sweep, the wind stopped. The usual songs of the crickets and tree frogs faded. Not even the rustling of branches could be heard. A heavy silence fell like a blanket soaked in fear. But Mama Ifeoma kept sweeping. Swish, swish, swish. Then, a soft whisper drifted by. "Leave it, leave it." She paused. "Who said that?" No one replied. She looked around, nothing but moonlight and shadows. She grumbled and continued. Swish, swish, swish. Then, she saw it. At the far end of her compound stood a figure, cloaked in darkness, taller than any man. It had no face, no legs, just a hovering blackness that drank in the moonlight. Still, she didn't stop. "You think I'm afraid of you?" she shouted. But her hands began to tremble. She turned to sweep near the big mango tree. As her broom touched the earth, she felt resistance, like sweeping against stone. She pulled harder, and the ground beneath her feet shook. The soil cracked. The mango tree groaned like something ancient was waking. Then a cold, pale hand shot up from the earth, grabbed her ankle, and pulled. She screamed, scratching the ground, but it offered no help. Her nails dug trenches in the red clay, but the force was too strong. Another hand emerged. And another. Soon, she was surrounded by ghostly hands, all grabbing, pulling, dragging her beneath. The last thing she saw before the earth swallowed her was her broom, floating midair, sweeping on its own. The next morning, the sun rose lazily over Umueze. Mama Ifeoma, feeling guilty about their fight, came by to check on Mama Ifeoma. She knocked on the wooden door. No answer. She called her name. No voice. But her compound was spotless. Leaves that had blanketed the entire yard were gone. The earth was smooth, almost too smooth, like it had been freshly dug. Only one thing lay in the center of the yard. Mama Ifeoma's broom. Beside it, a deep crack in the ground, still oozing a black, sticky liquid that smelled of decay. The elders were called. They came, walking with their staffs and sacred beads, muttering prayers. One of them, Okri, the oldest man in Umueze, looked upon the scene and nodded grimly. She swept at night, he said. And the spirits came for her. He turned to the gathered crowd and spoke loudly. Let this be the last time we repeat this lesson. At night, the land is not ours. Spirits roam. Ancestors visit. When you sweep in the dark, you stir more than dust. You stir the dead. You might sweep away your fortune, your children's lives, or your own soul. From that day, no one in Umueze ever swept after sundown. And sometimes, on moonless nights, those who live near Mama Ifeoma's compound claim to hear it. Swish, swish, swish. A broom sweeping a clean yard. Even though no one is there. Even though the compound has long been abandoned.